Okay, so then they ask you some word problems. They're going to ask you one type of word problem, and that's going to be area. We'll take that back. They actually ask you two types of word problems. But this one's area, and all area means is length times width. That's it. So you're not going to have to memorize the formula. It just means length times width. You're just going to multiply the two numbers. So I have a wooden panel, and so if you look at this, and you had a panel, some kind of rectangle there, and you had 5/9 on this side and 12/16 on this side, the way that you find the area is you multiply them. And so you could think of this as square feet, and you would multiply them. That's how you find carpeting. That's how you find how much paint you need for a wall, and so forth. It's called square feet. And so you're going to multiply the length times the width. So in this case, my length is 5/9 and my width is 12/16, and I'm just going to multiply them. If you multiply it across the top, you'd get 60, and if you multiply it across the bottom, you'd get 144. So if you wanted to get 60 over 144 and then reduce it, you certainly could. But these numbers are a little big for me, so I prefer to reduce first. Now the thing about 12 is 12 goes into 9 and it goes into 16. So you have a choice there. I'm going to make it go into 16. 12 and 16, they don't actually go into each other, but they have a common factor of 4. So 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 4 goes into 16 4 times. So that narrows it down a little bit. Now that poor 5 up there, that doesn't go into any number, so he's just staying put. But your numbers you have left over are a 3 and a 9 and a 4. So I know that 3 and 9 also reduce. 3 goes into 3 1 time, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. So when you simplify this, you're left with a 5 times 1 in the top and a 3 times 4 in the bottom. And so this would be your answer. That's how it works. I think they gave you another one of those. Okay, they say we're measuring a park, and we have 36 2/3 yards on one side of the park, and we're timesing that by 36. Now, there's something I should have mentioned in the beginning and I didn't. In math, we have two symbols for times. When you get up into the upper levels, I'd say 5th grade and even higher, even to where I teach now, we use this symbol for times. But if you're in the elementary school, we use this symbol for times. And the reason we stop using this symbol for times is that it looks like X, right? And so it looks like our variables that we get to in algebra. But for the sake of you, where you're probably going to teach, this symbol for times is just fine. All right, when we get ready to do this, we're going to times here and add here. So 36 times 3 is 108. 108 plus 2 would be 110 over 3. I'm going to double check that again. 108 plus 2 would be 110 over 3. Now this is the whole number 36. So if it's a whole number, remember it goes over 1. Now those are certainly too big for me to multiply. So I'm going to reduce. Anything in the top reduces in the bottom. I know that 3 and 36 reduce. 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 36 12. So what that leaves me with is 110 times 12. So my answer would be 1,320 square yards, and that would be your answer. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Sean has a job mowing grass for the city, and he can mow 4/5 of an acre per hour. He has 3 acres to mow. So if he has 3 acres to mow and he can mow 4/5 of an acre per hour, we can figure out how many hours by using this little arithmetic problem. So remember, we keep and change and flip. So this would be 15/4. We'll change it to a mixed number. That would be 3 is my whole number and 3 is my remainder. So he can mow the city park in 3 hours and 3 3/4 hours. Okay, let's see our next one. Okay, so then we have subtraction. I think they're just trying to help you out with what you did on the previous section. I'm going to pause it for just a second. Okay, now we're ready. Okay, I'm going to subtract these, but I can't subtract them right now because they don't have a common denominator. So I need to get a common denominator. I have 14. Sorry, I'm trying not to have it green. There we go. 14 and 1/5 minus 14/25. Okay, so that's what it's looking like. Okay, so I need to turn it into 25ths to get a common denominator. So to turn it into 25ths, I'm going to multiply by 5 on the bottom, and if I multiply by 5 on the bottom, I have to multiply by 5 on the top. So this would be 5/25 minus 14/25. Okay, so we see there's a problem there. You can't subtract 14 from 5, so that means we have to borrow. So I'm going to borrow from this guy. So that's going to leave 13 of him, and then that's going to leave me with a whole. So 1 and 5/25. Let's think about it for a second. A whole is 25/25, right? That's one whole. And then I have 5/25. So if I put these two together, one whole and 5/25, that's going to leave me with 30/25. And when you borrow with fractions, that's how it's going to look. So 30/25 minus 14/25 would be 16/25. And then I just bring my 13 down, and that's what your answer would look like. Okay, let's try it again on this other one. Uh-oh. It's not going to let me move it, so we'll have to kind of make this one really small. I'm going to have 3 and 2/5 minus 7/10. Okay, my common denominator is going to be tenths. So to get this top one, I'm going to multiply by 2 in the bottom and 2 in the top. So that would be 4/10. So 2/5 is the same as 4/10. I'm going to subtract 7/10. Well, you can't subtract 7 from 4, so you have to borrow. So when I borrow here, this is going to leave me with a 2, and I'm going to put one whole right here. So one whole is 10/10. That's one whole. And then I have 4/10. So this would give me 14/10. So 14/10 minus 7/10 would leave me with 7/10. And I can bring down my 2. So it would be 2 and 7/10.